Welcome back to Astrology Secrets. This is Elijah. And in this video, I want to give you approximately five, maybe we'll go into bonus reasons why someone would not believe in astrology, especially Vedic astrology or just astrology in general. There's combinations that potentially make someone a bit contrarian as well. We'll have to cover that. And this first one, though, is a little bit different. This first reason why is stelliums, okay? So I'm going to go over some charts, potentially some people I know, but I'm leaving their names out for privacy reasons. And all the chart that matters here is the top left one. This is the birth chart. So as you can see here, there's quite a big stellium in that 11th house. And luckily enough, when I talked to this person, my intuition was on point, along with some other fairly obvious aspects. So I convinced this person of the validity of Vedic astrology after the reading as well. And I think, it was a little bit lucky because whenever you have a stellium, there's some chance of astrological error, okay? Because there's two reasons. One is that your reading can be pretty broad, and some things you say, there's so many potential contradictions that you can make wrong. You can say something wrong by mistake sometimes. And then the second reason is that sometimes the people just assume that the reading is too general. Okay? They'll assume that because sometimes you have to be broad in order to work with a stellium. And that's two reasons why someone with a stellium may have a hard time believing astrology. So stellium is the number one on this list of reasons why someone might not believe astrology. So for number two, I'm going to open up the chart. For number two, I've used this chart before. We're going to look at the 9th house here, and this has Saturn, okay? So the 9th house is our beliefs, and Saturn represents delays and slow-moving things. So Saturn can hold someone's beliefs for a long period of time. Now, whether this house had Saturn, whether this house had the Sun, or was stacked up with some sort of stellium involving Jupiter or the North Node, chances are you may not be able to change this person's beliefs. So in the case that they didn't believe astrology to begin with, chances are it's going to be very hard for you to change it, if not impossible. So that's the number two reason, is if they have certain planets in the 9th house. Okay? Now the third reason is also in this chart. Jupiter and the North Node being together is one combination, which it's a specific yoga in Vedic astrology that I forget the term, but if you have that combination, what I've discovered from readings, it makes the readings a little bit wacky. Okay, so from my perspective, usually there's one or two things wrong in the reading that I do. And also, even if you did everything right for the person, it's potentially not their karma to fully believe in it. Okay, they're more of a scientific-minded person and more of an atheistic type of person. But they're also believing what fits them and what feels right. So the North Node and Rahu and Jupiter, or the North Node and Jupiter, is a combination of someone very intelligent, but also not willing to just believe, something, even when hard evidence is potentially presented to them, if it's not convenient, or if it's it's not scientific. Okay, so that's reason number three. Sorry, this is the third chart, and what I can show you here is the moon in the ascendant with Leo. So we have, out of the big three, which is the sun, moon, and ascendant, we've got Leo in two spots there. When you end up getting a lot of Leo in a chart, there's a good chance they're not going to believe astrology. Okay? And it's nothing against Leos. It's for their best health in a lot of cases too. It's simply because there's two reasons. It could be because they can't process the negativity that potentially comes from a chart, because a Leo needs their life to be exceptional, and if the chart is not exceptional, why would they want to believe it? So that's kind of their mindset part of the time. And the other part of the time is sometimes they just can't Sometimes they just can't understand it, because it's not beneficial to them, but sometimes that just puts a mental block. And I'll make a video on this later, but when we talk of fire signs, if somebody had an ascendant with Aries and the moon, or Aries and Mars as well, that could be someone resistant to understanding this stuff as well. But the difference is with a Leo, Leos, which, and this is not to hate on Leos at all, Leos are amazing people, and, some of our best leaders are Leos. So we definitely need them, and they're great people. This is not to hate on Leos. Okay, and some of them make great astrologers too. So don't get me wrong when I'm about to say this, but some of them are vulnerable narcissists. And what happens is, when they're vulnerable narcissists, they can't process things the same way that a Mula person such as myself, my moon's not in Mula, but I'm running Mula time periods, and they can't process deep truths necessarily. It's like a blind spot, because if you think of, another YouTuber I know made a great video on this. The baby boomer generation had Leo and Pluto. Okay, and Pluto is the slow moving planet. It affects generations. Anyway, if you look at the US at that time, everything looks kind of perfect. Like, people have their nice houses. The wife is doing the dishes or whatnot, like cleaning, and the man is out getting his career up, getting a job, and they have a perfect family. Even though we know that it's rare that things are actually perfect, right? So the thing is, Leos want things to seem that way for others because that's their karma, that's their path. They need things to be seen as like they got, like, everything's together, everything's well, like they're the center of attention. And no Leo does this, or few Leos do this consciously. So that's another thing too. Self-awareness is pretty big, and as Leos begin to understand this, they'll have a better understanding of this stuff. But for now, sometimes when we present this to a Leo, or they come to you for a reading, and it's a lot of Leo in its chart, not just one aspect, just one part of a Leo, definitely they'll understand it, and definitely they may even become an astrologer, because some parts of astrology is in the 5th house. However, I noticed if it's not convenient, some of them are not believing it. So just keep that in mind. So that was the third reason, or maybe that's the fourth reason, third or fourth. So the next reason, though, is Mars below Mercury. Okay, and that's in the same chart. Now, when Mars is conjunct Mercury but below Mercury, what happens is Mercury's our intelligence is getting filtered through a soldier. So what ends up happening is this person is quite contrarian. And this person wants to fight before they talk. So, a Mars below Mercury person is not the greatest person to deal with as an astrologer. However, if this is just one aspect, it's not a big deal. And also, if you have this, don't worry, because you can be a great debater. You can be a great lawyer. Okay. And definitely you're the type of person you want. Someone will want you on their side when they're in an argument, when they need you for help. There's always pros and cons to these things. However, if you're a little bit of a bossy person and then you meet someone with Mars below Mercury, you're going to have a hard time getting along with them because they'll want to contradict everything you say. So that's just one thing I've noticed about that. Okay, I think I've covered most of it now. That should be 5. I know I went a little bit long on the Leo situation there, but that's just to kind of give you a better understanding of why some of that might be going on. Now, again, in this chart, this is just a bonus chart. We have Mars in the ascendant with Leo. And the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because this person brought me their chart and said, I don't believe in astrology, convince me. And as soon as I saw the ascendant, I said, well, it's probably not possible because you don't want to believe it because your chart is not as nice as you'd like it to be. And she said that was exactly why. And then she told me that her father had stolen her house. And that really shocked me. I was like, that was the most crazy thing I've ever seen. And what the reason for that was her Scorpio and Sun in the fourth house, and also some time periods transits must have affected it. Probably dashas. But wow, that was just kind of mind blowing. I didn't know that could happen. Scorpio is quite a transformative sign. So that's just a bonus, and I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps me so much if you share the video. That really helps me be able to do this long term, because that's the goal. And thank you so much for watching. Have a good week.